Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today to listen to our presentation on this fine morning or at night for people like my teammate Jessica. But yes, thank you for joining us. My name is Moniala Ojunsi, and I am part of KKJAM with Andrea Durham, Kayla Johnson, and Jessica Song. We are a group of driven teen women who aspire to make change in the world of education by revolutionizing the way we think about technical use in this field and most importantly, the way we think about others. This is why we would like to introduce you to Ireti Olua. This is Ireti. Imagine Ireti. Imagine hope. Ireti Olua is a 7-year-old Nigerian girl who has 5 brothers, 2 older and 3 younger, an educated dad, a mother who diligently works part-time in her community, and a name. That means what she and so many like her hold on to today, hope. Day in and day out, not because they want to, but because they have to. Areti is one of the 10.5 million children who live in Nigeria but are unable to go to school. She longs for the education her dad was able to receive. She desires the first day of school her older brothers were able to experience while she sat in the house, cooking the meal they would eat once they returned. She understands the cycle that she has been forced into and would do anything to get out of, but she is trapped. Those 10.5 million children are all trapped. Areti hopes for what she cannot have, the seemingly unimaginable, the ability to receive an education and open the doors to her aspiring profession, the shot at a better life. 10.5 million children. 10.5 million Nigerian children are not in school. According to BBC, this is the highest number of out-of-school children in the world. Out of this group, 60% are girls. Imagine withholding a needed resource from every 3 out of 5 children just because of their gender. Though numerous organizations advocate for girls' education in Nigeria, this alarming statistic proves that this goal has yet to be realized. Rural Nigeria holds about 98 million people, which is about 50% of the country's population. The internet penetration rate of the whole country is a mere 46.6% of the population compared to the 86% penetration rate of the United States, a developed country. We were so fortunate to talk to an educator in Nigeria about her views on illiteracy in Nigeria and corroborated her statements with a BBC interview. And it is more than clear that the dangers of illiteracy are far too great to ignore.
Now imagine if there was a way to reach these 10.5 million children in just an instant. Gaining education would no longer be affected by financial burden, lack of time, nor access to the internet. That's exactly what we'd like to propose, Ready. Ready is an automated phone system that utilizes voice recognition to recognize what the child reads, repeats it back, and corrects any mistakes in the child's words or pronunciation. The child will use the rudimentary phone device from which they will likely have access to call this number and begin the process of Ready. For first for first time For first-time readers, Ready utilizes phonics instruction, which has been proved to be the most effective way to help children learn to read. If a user wants to read, Ready starts with the first letter of a word, states the phoneme, asks the child to repeat it, recognizes what the child has said, decides if it is correct or incorrect, restarting if it is wrong, and then goes on to the next phoneme. Once the child has successfully repeated each phoneme, the system will say the entire word back to the child and then ask the child to repeat it. As they learn the alphabet, they will be able to learn word by word and start to learn the meanings of words and understand sentence structure and syntax. The system can read to you as well. The lack of access to books for many will not be an issue either. The child will be able to pick any object around the house, like a cereal box or a shampoo bottle, tell the system what they have picked up, and choose whether they want to read or be read to and begin the process. These are 2 demos that show how the system would operate.
You want to learn how to read the front of Napa corned beef bought at a DD stores. Let's start. The first letter is C. K, K. Repeat the sound.
Coo, coo.
Incorrect. Try again. K, K.
K, K, K.
Correct. Move on to next sound. You want to read the original Fruit Loops ingredients.
Yes.
Ingredients: sugar, corn flour blend, wheat flour, whole grain oat flour, oat fiber.
What is fiber?
Fiber is the part of plant-based foods that the body cannot break down.
Okay, continue. Ready would work through the use of an interactive voice response system and the application of AI through the use of voice recognition systems and neural networks. Users would call the specific phone number that would connect to an IVR system controlled through AI. The AI system would be tethered and have stable access to the internet. The system would have a built-in speech recognition system trained through the use of a recurrent neural network and deep learning. The machine would be trained to recognize voice patterns and to listen for key words and would then be calibrated and adjusted to a person's specific voice. It would be trained to record frequencies from a user's voice, translate this into code, and analyze the code to detect patterns and key phrases, much like Siri. The network would then search for these keywords, perhaps pertaining to a specific book or a package around the house, through the internet. It would be programmed to take any relevant documentation or file from the internet and convert it into an MP3 file. It would recognize the text patterns and words of the documentation in the intended context. When the audio is outputted to the user, the machine would be trained to listen for commands such as stop, pause, define, spell, read, talk, and repeat.
Financial implications would include the design, testing, and deployment of the product, which encompasses the IVR combined AI system of RedE. Other financial implications would be the finances required for the internet and cloud usage of the database to connect to the flip phones. MTN, one of the mobile network providers in Nigeria, also endorses programs for youth education and empowerment, which can potentially provide funding for this project. RedE would be financially accessible to all individuals within the region of rural Nigeria, utilizing the widespread presence of flip phones in which 42 to 48% of users were reported to have a flip phone, a much higher number than those who use the internet. Cost effectiveness analysis from the consumer's perspective is very low, as users do not have to expend money to utilize the program, and efficacy of RedE to reduce illiteracy rates within children is high. Let's talk about the competition. Our competitors include the Nigerian government, which is currently employing a radio and TV system to reach many rural children for educational purposes, Duolingo, and other language learning platforms, as well as nonprofit organizations like United for Education and the Grace Foundation, who both aim to improve the educational disparities in Nigeria as a whole. The uniqueness of our product, however, lies in capitalizing upon the weakness of each platform. None of these platforms prioritize the four strengths of our product, which includes rural accessibility, user interaction, cost effectiveness, and time flexibility. Our product will be able to reach millions of rural Nigerian children who have access to rudimentary phone systems. The AI system will be able to converse with the child, learn about them, and interact. The cost will be much cheaper than what it would cost to hand out millions of high-tech devices to parents or to send kids to school. Finally, children won't have to leave the roles the parents will require them to fulfill at home. Our product brings education to them. This is how we plan to implement our strategy. If given the reward money, we will not hesitate and plan to develop the strategy as soon as possible. Nigeria is facing a national crisis. The outcry against SARS, the Special Anti-Robbery Squad, has left the country in unrest as millions of citizens, especially young adults, fight for their fundamental human rights. With this civic unrest, the value of education is sure to be neglected, and the number of uneducated children will rise as a result. We cannot stand to see this number rise, and we hope that you cannot either. This is why we need RedE. We must give them a chance at hope. Thank you.
Thank you very much, KKJAM, for another quality presentation. Right, over to 5 minutes for our judges, and I see a raised hand. Mishek.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Manuela and Anja, for the presentation, good presentation. I'm trying to understand the impact, and in your presentation, you talked about internet connectivity is only available to 46%. So what problem are you trying to solve? Is it to have education access for those who already have internet? Is that where the problem is?
So we're trying to solve the issue of the fact that many rural Nigerian children don't have access to the internet. When approaching the solution, there are many paths we could have taken. And one of the primary things that came up when we were going through our development process was that we wanted to make our product accessible to the most amount of people. And of course, rural Nigeria, the broadband reach, like we said, is virtually non-existent, and the internet penetration rate is very, very low. So we're trying to focus on the most amount of children that we can reach by not requiring the internet.
Thank you.
Thank you, KKJAM. Next question from our judge, Asiya.
Hi, thank you very much. Clearly a very important topic. I wanted to ask a little bit more about if the program allows things to be read to me, why would I do the hard work of actually learning to read? And second question is, how much of your program will take into what we know about the science of learning to read? So the content is progressively getting harder, as opposed to me just being able to point at things and learn to read from them, or have that read to me.
Sorry, just to, so I can make sure I understand your first question. You asked what would be the usefulness of learning to read if the system can read to you, correct?
I mean, it's easier if I understood correctly. What your system does is I can point at something and it can read it back to me. So if it can do that, why would I make the effort of actually learning to read? So how do you make them? So I suppose the question related to that is, how do you make that engaging and fun to be able to learn to read?
Well, I think that reading is the first step to an education as a whole, and the children that we're targeting haven't had that exposure to education, most of them, because they haven't been able to go to school. And we've seen decades of research have shown the usefulness of education and the usefulness of being able to read, and most of these children will be impoverished. So it's that opportunity for a better life for them, and whether they want to go to college or, like we said, open the doors to a professional career. So being able to learn how to read and not just have a system read to you is a skill that has proved for decades to be very, very valuable to just making a better life for yourself. And so I think that that would be the appealing outlook of it. And then in terms of the interactiveness and the visual aspect, of course, if we're using flip phones, most of them won't have the ability to send text messages or use videos, which would have that visual aspect. But we're hoping, because the child will be able to choose their own medium, maybe it's a cereal box or something like that, they'll be able to sort of see something that they like and be able to be more engaged that way. I hope that answers your question. And then I think Andrea can answer the second part.
Sorry, if I could just try and get one more question in, if you don't mind, KKJAM. Last question, time for last quick question, a quick answer from Daphne, please.
Hi, great presentation. Thank you for that. Just wondering if you've thought about what kind of support model would be required if something doesn't quite go right and the children or the families aren't able to figure out how to use the software.
Yes, thank you for your question. I think Andrea can answer.
Right. So when we were developing this, when we were thinking about the system, we were going to use a phone number, and this would connect to an IVR system. And through the IVR system, it would kind of lead you and guide you as to what you wanted to do. So first it would ask you what object, right? Or what would you like to do, read or be read to? So it kind of take you through the steps in order to understand what exactly you want to do and what object you exactly want to read or want the system to read to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, KKJAM. We're out of time.